20. Okay, so within the welding field, there are multiple positions that you're going to end up working in. You have a flat position like this across a table, which is considered the easiest and most preferred position to be welding in, mainly due to gravity. Since you are working with a molten metal pool, gravity is going to work against that. You can also be working in a vertical position where you're going uphill like this, or downhill like this, or horizontal across a beam or something like that, or a wall. And last, of course, would be your overhead positions where you're actually working on a ceiling sort of a structure. Now, given all that, it's pretty obvious why flat position will be the most preferred method. It's going to be the most comfortable, and well, as I said, with gravity, it's not going to affect your weld puddle as much. For example, if you're welding, across, what's going to happen to that molten pool? It's going to fall down, right? So when you're working out of position like this, what makes you a good welder, what you have to work on is controlling that puddle in such a way that gravity does not work against you and pull it down and wash it out. So first you need to master flat position welding. So that's what I'm going to show you guys today. So when I'm welding two pieces of steel like this, the first thing you do before you run that bead is you're going to want to tack the two ends together just to get things secured so that it doesn't move around on me too much. So one of the reasons that we tack weld things together is because before we fully weld it, we want to make sure everything is set up the way we want it to be in the final product. So that's why we're not going to put big heavy welds to hold things together. When we say tack, we're just giving a light little zap every so often. I mean, I can literally snap that apart if I wanted to. So now that I've got my part assembled and tacked together, I'm happy with that setup. I'm going to go ahead and run my bead. So before I actually run the bead, I want to make sure that I can comfortably run the entire length of that bead, whatever it is, without having to stop or change positions or anything like that. Now that's not always going to be the case, working with like say pipe or steel tubing or out of position welds, you're going to end up in awkward positions. But for this, since I'm on a flat position here, I want to just make sure that I can very nice and easily run that bead without having to twist my body or anything. So I'm going to set myself up nice and comfortable. I'm going to run a couple of test runs like that just to make sure that I can comfortably run that bead. And I'm going to kind of set my hands up so even if I was having trouble seeing the thing, as long as I continue on that path, I know that I'm going to be right on that bead. Okay, so now that I'm comfortable with that position, I'm going to go ahead and run my weld. Let that cool for a second. Okay, so as you can see, the edges are not completely smooth, and the reason for that is because I was actually weaving as I was going along. I was tying into one side and tying into the other side, and tying into this side and tying into that side. And I was going like that the entire way. I wasn't just running straight down the seam. Now, if this had been really thin sheet metal, then I can get away with just running right down the middle. It's, relatively fast, and you're going to get equal penetration on both sides. But because this is 1/8 inch material and this is pretty much the maximum thickness I'm going to be welding with this size wire,